Eden Kaz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. And as we begin the show, just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a soul realignment specialist, meditation master, and dimensional healer. Learn more, and there's merch also at EdenJustBe.com. Let's get this party started. Eden, Just Be, Spiritual Boom, coming at you in association with the Grassroots Warriors Network. And of course, you can tell it's like 3 o'clock here today because I had this light beam that's coming down the side of me. Holy smokes, y'all, on Greatest Hits number 8, which this is fantastic. And I'm pre-recording this because I'm leaving for Peru. So I jokingly tell people I might go into a portal and might not come back. So I'm very, very excited about that. And I'm always really thrilled to present these Greatest Hits versions because they are the best of the best. So let's go ahead and kick it off. All right, we're going to start out with episode 129, Jason Sears, Spiritual Community Builder. Now, we're going to do some of this. Hi.
Oh, we're going to smile. Okay,
sometimes, I do some wild ones. It's just me. It's my personality now.
Yeah, I love that. I always do jazz hands.
Ooh. What do you think about marriage?
I'm curious about how you answer this too, because I know you also have a 25-year marriage.
Look at you. Yes, you first.
So let's both answer this. Yes.
Okay.
I'm okay. So I am traumatized by marriage, and so my perspective is extremely biased, and it came out just recently because a friend of mine, good close friend of mine, came and said, "I'm struggling. We're married for 10 years."
Yeah.
He's like, "We're struggling," and my first reaction to him was, "All right, get out of there! Like it's time that you're free! Like woohoo! Like get out of that thing!" Oh my gosh, I felt so ashamed, honestly, for a bit, and then we talked through it, and he saw me coming from a mile away. He's like, I knew what you were going to say, coming from your experience, and we've talked through that. So I think more like deeper, I think that marriage can be a beautiful thing for the right people, the right time. The contract of staying together for life, in practice, I don't think that's the right way to say it or the right way to do it. You might be together for life, but I think making that commitment it ends up creating unnecessary attachments. If you're together for life, you want it to be for the right reasons always. You want to make that choice every day, every year. It's like, yes, we're still together, not an obligation of like, well, we said we were going to be together, so I guess we got to keep going.
Gotta trudge through it.
I wish that we as a society really celebrated the ending of relationships as well and had that be okay, because sometimes that's the growth you need.
Yes.
And it's not just one person. There's many soulmates. There's many ways to connect deeply with people. So I'm fine. I attend weddings. I'm actually officiating a wedding next year, which for a good friend, which I'm very happy to do.
I've done that too.
And so, you know what? It's great. It's a beautiful thing. It's a reason to bring people together and celebrate. But yeah, I don't know. It's energetic for me.
Yes. Episode 44, Kerry Cassidy. Oh my goodness. Project Camelot, major investigative reporter. If I may, I know you were abducted as a child. Okay, can you explain a little bit about that to start out with?
Sure. I had the reason I know about it is that I had a recurring dream in which I would have this loud buzzing sound. It was really more of a nightmare, and I would be walking outside my front door down this path that actually didn't exist in real life. But at the end of the path was a white picket fence. And on the other side of the path the fence was a man in a long fedora and a top hat. And there was, I think, a van there. And I would just hear this very loud sound, and then I would wake up and I would be like terrified. So I had it recurring when I was around 12. And then one day I decided I was going to go through the gate, and I did, and it ended that set of dreams. So, but I've also had flashes of interacting with various ET races. I've also, had visitations, not abductions, visitations and things.
Episode 51, Crystal Abeel, Multi-Dimension Ascension Healer.
One of these mini workshops at this big workshop, like, really resonated with me. And so I went up to the instructor and I was like, will you be my spiritual mentor?
And you were 16.
I was 16. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful.
And so I went to this guy's, so Sati and Raja hosted all these David Data workshops, and his polarity of divine feminine and divine masculine like really resonated with me. So I went to one of his meditation retreats at the time it was called Enlightenment Intensive. And while I was there, my kundalini opened.
Oh my gosh.
So abruptly, so forcefully, I actually went into shock and was throwing up. And I don't feel like whether they were able to hold space for me. I mean, I think they were able to hold space for me, but I don't think they really knew that, oh, that's your kundalini that just woke up, And so I felt really scared and frustrated that I just had this big traumatic thing where I'm going into shock and tetany and all this kind of stuff. And no one was telling me, oh, that's an enlightenment experience. That's an ascension symptom.
Crystal, can I just stop? It's so,
yeah.
so cool that you're 37, yet you've been experiencing this for at least 20 years. Yeah. So you have been doing this for a long time, which is awesome. I had a kundalini experience recently, and I didn't realize that's what it was either, even in doing all of this work, because I was sitting watching TV, and it was like from here up, and I had someone else describe it as a light electrocution. Did I say that right? Yeah. And what was your experience? Full body, or how did it happen for you?
It actually happened in 3 waves. So 3 knots, which I think is kind of typical if you research Kundalini. Like, you have your first knot that blocks energy from getting into your body. And the second knot is usually the one that makes you throw up, right? And then meanwhile, like, I'm a teenager starting to be sexually active after that experience. And in a sexual experience after that, that's when my heart knot blew up, and I had this like new experience that way. So it did happen in a couple stages. So
okay, can you describe the physical sensations that you felt in each notch? Did you call it notch or not?
Not yeah.
Not.
KNOT, not.
Okay,
yeah.
not.
I think they, in Hindu or whatever, they call it Gaunties or something like that. Okay. But these knots are just like, I think they're divine blocks on purpose. I think when you're ready for these knots to release, they release. It is possible to go in and manually release these if your intuition guides you to go in and release these knots. So I could, let's say, help someone else have a Kundalini awakening by helping them release these knots and open up this more of this divine earth energy flowing through your body.
So let's describe that for a minute. So Kundalini energy is the divine earth energy. I mean, for me, it's just about more awakening, essentially.
Yeah. So if you imagine like a garden hose of awareness going through your body from the earth, like, this is a fire hose of awareness. So people don't like, there's stigma to it that it's like crazy and loud and yeah, if you have a leak and you turn on a fire hose, that leak is going to get louder, Mm-hmm. So, but what it feels like.
Yes.
It feels like divine feminine. It feels safe. It feels nurturing. It feels flowy. It feels like, but it also feels like passion, or it feels like excitement, or it feels like a mom protecting her baby, you know, like it can be fierce, it can be heavy. So I kind of see Kundalini energy as kind of like tribal dancing, you know, or like warrior goddess energy. But that's not any different than our divine feminine energy. It's just more of it, you know. So there's also kind of a stigma that Kundalini is just like, if you go to a Kundalini yoga, or not Kundalini yoga, but a Kundalini dance or a Kundalini activation, it gets kind of yippy and out loud and crazy, and people are, you know, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can relax open to this energy and allow it to flow through you. It doesn't have to like force you to dance in crazy loud ways, you know.
So how, when you had your throwing up, like, describe that.
Yeah, it was suddenly like, I'm just sitting there meditating, like, who am I, you know? And
Right.
suddenly this like, okay, you know, when you fall asleep on your arm and then it reawakens and it has the tingles, but the tingles are so bad that you can't move your hand, or you can't move anything. Like it hurts so bad to move. Well, I had that suddenly in my entire body, and it was so much energy so quickly that it actually like contracted all of my muscles. And I went into what's called tetany, where all of my muscles contract and everything just vibrates, and it's like I'm stuck. And meanwhile, like my mind is very active at this point. So when my body's stuck, I'm freaking out that something bad is happening to me.
Yes.
And just the intense burst of energy in my body, this stuckness, and my mind going, oh my God, I'm dying, like sent me into full-blown shock. And so that shock, I got really cold. All my energy went to my core. I'm throwing up. All I wanted to do was curl up into a ball and go to sleep for a week. And I'm at a meditation retreat, so they're like, no sleeping, you know? And so they let me go out for a walk in the garden and to help me reground and reconnect. And
Episode 143, Amit Goswami, PhD, quantum science pioneer. And just to give a little clue on this one, he's talking about when he was a major scientist, let's call it that, and he had a spiritual awakening at age 37.
So when science came and I got the idea that things can be verified, then I was super delighted. So delighted that I have more and more into science and became quite a materialist. And that went on for until I was 36. And I had a very special experience. In that experience, the idea came to me.
Okay, what happened? Please explain or go into more detail about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But details, when I was at a conference to give an invited talk, which is somewhat of a prestigious thing to do. So I was quite happy when I began the day. I gave my lecture. It was the very first opening lecture in that session. And I was feeling good. And then the next speaker started speaking, and I all of a sudden started feeling that he's doing better than I did in terms of lecturing. And when the lecture ended, people are asking questions, and I also felt that he's getting a better reception for his talk. And that made me very jealous. I never had this encounter with jealous energy like that before. Speaker after speaker, as conferences go, and I'm feeling jealousy after jealousy after jealousy. This went on and on. In the evening, I was at a party. Even there, I was jealous. Why? Because although I was a married man and really not interested in any other woman, but I got jealous because women are not paying attention to me. They're paying attention to other people more. So this jealous energy continued until 1 a.m. I got very, very disgusted with myself. I had a bucket of Tums. I exhausted those antacid tubs. And then I exhausted them. I had no recourse but to just face with my heartburn, face my jealousy. So I thought at least the least I could do is to take a break and go outside. So I went outside. The conference was at a beach. And this idea came to me all of a sudden with the ocean air cooling my face. And the idea was, why do I live this way? And the answer also came immediately. The answer was that I don't have to. I can integrate my life with what I do for a living. So this was the beginning of the exploration of wholeness, how to achieve wholeness.
Okay, so you went outside the ocean was there. Was it just kind of a captivating moment, or just like everything became whole in your body when you felt those words, held those words? And then did things change literally the next day? How did it go? So intriguing.
I wouldn't so dramatize it, but the idea did come suddenly. This much I can say, and I also can say that it was unexpected. I did not expect to hear my wherever that came from, the intuition or assurance, whatever conviction that I don't have to live this way. I don't have to live this divided way. I was completely convinced that I can integrate my livelihood, thinking. And that complete conviction helped me all the subsequent years since then. I'm now 87, so it has been 50 years. And I have been able to make pathway success towards that journey. By no means complete, but the journey was extremely wonderful.
Oh, episode 145, Joshua Shapiro, Crystal Skulls Explorer. Amazing. All right. Can you tell real quick why skulls?
Well, I think the reason why a skull-shaped object was used by people in the past to make crystal skulls is just like our bone skull in our brain. It stores knowledge and information, but in the case of the skull, it's also storing energies as well. And the skulls also can store the energy of what happens around them. Like it can record the history of all the events that happen around them. So the main purpose for me of the crystal skulls, and why I think Amit said we're returning to help humanity to create peace, is because when you work with a crystal skull that is active, that's alive, which usually means it has a living consciousness that's working through it, its goal and its purpose is to empower the people that it meets and bring out all their spiritual gifts and link them up with their spiritual essence. This is what I feel is part of their purpose. But then at the same time, too, because they're holding these higher frequencies of energies within them, they can also help to bring special energy here to the earth that we can work with, so that and that's why we have the meditations on the 13th each month, is we're holding a crystal skull and working with it, and the skull is empowering us so we can send out a powerful, peaceful, and loving energy to the entire planet. So I think what happens is it becomes a powerful tool. Yeah, so Katrina's saying it's basically a powerful tool that allows us to become our true self. It gives us an opportunity to work with it to become more and more our true self. And our true self, of course, is a person who's kind and loving and wants to work together and wants to help everybody else. This is who we really are. This is where we're moving towards. And, you know, because of these crazy things that have been happening, things have been trying to distract us from being that true self and to get us bogged down in things on the physical reality, which are in chaos and everything. But that's all in the process of going away. It's all going to be changed. So I think the crystal skulls were used in this way by very advanced civilizations in our past, and then they were hidden away until this period of time, and now they're starting to come back out again to help humanity. There is also free will involved in the evolution of our planet, but also I heard another person say there has been an interference in the natural evolution of humanity. And because of this, I believe that the galactics have a greater desire to step in to assist us, because, you know, if we had free will and nobody was bothering us and we were doing all this stuff ourselves directly, and that's one thing. But when you have not so nice galactics working with an elite group of people on the planet whose intention is to destroy humanity, and they're doing it in a sneaky way, so people are not, unless you're very spiritual and aware, are awake of what's going on, then there is a battle of good and evil, or light and dark, that's going on. So what they tell me is they can't help unless we ask for help, but also we, like you said, we have to take responsibility too. So the way to be responsible is to always have positive, hopeful messages for every person that we talk to, whether they're spiritually aware or not. And just keep trying to put that out, and also in your life, try to be an example of someone living to the best of your ability. So,
Episode 135, 2 snippets from Steve Farrell, co-founder of Humanities Team.
That moment in when I was out in California, as you mentioned, the whole Silicon Valley thing where I was living the American dream, the private jet thing, the whole thing. But I was then studying the spirituality. The science wasn't quite there in the 90s, or I didn't see it in its fullness as I do today.
So you had started studying that before Neil reached out to you? Like, was it like
No, Conversations with God, book 1 was as you mentioned, that was the big, massive thing that just caught me, that I gave myself to, that it was that God, speaking through with Neil in the conversation. And by the way, it wasn't just me. You might remember in the 90s, these books were on everybody's nightstand. Okay. And Neil was on CNN, ABC, CBS, right? NBC, all of the networks were, where did this wisdom come from? Neil would ask the questions, and then this wisdom was coming back that was so unbelievable, so true, that was inviting us to, again, what mystics have shared down through time and science is affirming is true. Its biggest message in Conversations with God is we are all one, that it's a holographic universe, right? And again, these teachings have been around forever. Hippocrates and Plato actually said this in 410 BCE, 2,500 years ago. So this was when... Can
I interrupt you for a second?
Oh, yes.
I'm assuming that everybody who's tuning in knows about Conversations of God. If you don't, check it out. It was, I was introduced to the book probably about 15 years ago, and I still give it to a lot of my clients. It is transformational. And Neil is basically, hey, I'm just an average guy, and God started talking to me. So I'm just going to start writing this down. Like, who am I to do this? But yet I'm going to go forward and do it and be, I know he was criticized in the beginning. Like, again, who are you to talk to God? What makes you special? All right. Proceed, please. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And it's there were 9 books actually in the Conversations with God series. The first one, Conversations with God, book 1, was in 1995, and then the last one, the 9th book, called Awaken the Species, which is what we're doing here now, was 2017. So there was a pretty good span of time there that these 9 books came out. I do find that younger people aren't aware of Neil or the Conversations with God book series, but that's okay, because the science is just coming in everywhere now, and kids in their 20s and 30s, they get it. They're like, in fact, they're leading this in many cases. Another one is, as you get into conscious living, as you're taking stepping stones out, I'll call it, in the fullness of what conscious living is. So I work with, there are many different modalities to this. So near-death experience comes in here. You mentioned you've got your own story here, Eden. A mediumship comes in, and you've shared you have that gift too. So as we explore these, which takes us into the non-physical realm, then we really start to understand kind of the whole life process. I'll call it the revolving door of life, the non-physical realm into the physical realm and then back. And this is how life goes on forever and ever and ever. And that whole non-physical realm, in terms of how that works, and where we drop the body, but we continue to live until we embody again later. There can be all kinds of fears around accepting that, oh my gosh, you're telling Steve, now, are you telling me that I don't need to fear death anymore, or death of loved ones? Or are you telling me that loved ones may be able to speak to me now, angels, guides, even, Jesus, God, Buddha, Moses, Abraham? Steve, are you telling me that? And so there can be some huge fears around, is that true, that whole non-physical realm, and does that work? Or is Steve just some new ager that's just feeding me stuff, mush that I don't want to understand?
Little Rebel, episode 146, David, who does the Freedom Conversation podcast. He's also a fabulous homesteader. Oh, can I bring this up, David? Hospital food, like here in the States, is horrible.
Oh
is
my
that what
God.
you were a part of?
Yes. I could tell you horror stories about what they feed sick people.
Yes.
And probably making them sicker.
Yeah.
Oh my
yes.
God. You want to hear one quick
Yeah,
one?
give me one.
Oh,
Yeah, let's do
Jesus
it.
Christ. This hospital in Nova Scotia that I was working at, and it's a medium-sized hospital, not big, not small. Lots of food coming through there. Say 1,000 meals for lunch, 1,000 meals for breakfast, whatever. 3 times a day, 1,000 meals flying by. So you're at it all day long, 12 hours straight. The truck shows up and they bring it in boxes. You open the boxes, you got frozen chopped vegetables into tiny squares, like a 6-sided dice, like diced. So you got your frozen bags of potatoes, 50 of those, whatever, frozen bags of carrots, and everything's chopped perfectly from machines into little squares. So you just put like 2 cups of little squares into the pot of this, 2 cups. So you make your soups just by weighing everything. And the way things are today with safety and you have to follow all these guidelines, especially in a hospital. It's absolutely crazy. For all the safety guidelines you have to follow to feed poison to human beings who are sick. Do you understand why restaurant industry was literally making me crazy?
Yeah, I get it.
Like I'm doing something that's stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's just one quick one. And just terrible. Like the chicken soup would be a yellow powder, salty yellow powder. That's the chicken stock. And they told me in that kitchen 20 years ago, we were boiling bones, cooking like 15 turkeys every day and boiling up all the bones and making real stock, real food to make people healthy. They got a new management. The health system started to change. The health system, oh my God, this is the new tyrannical system coming at us. Anyway, a little antidote about cooking in a hospital. Oh my God.
Episode 142, Jing Ang, PhD, Arcturian healing method needed right now. All right, describe who are the Arcturians from your perspective?
Yeah, I do see them as interdimensional beings, and then that might be still amorphous as a term. So if people like non-physical consciousness, they could be physical. They could be like they could look like they could be incarnated as a human or have some physical form, but I don't usually connect or see them in that way. So I see them as like spiritual beings, or if from a shamanic perspective, like helping spirits, or from maybe a more common spiritual view, how someone might see an angelic being, like as somewhat a being that doesn't have a physical body, but has consciousness, energy, and that can be of assistance. I just feel like the Arcturians and maybe other beings of that kind of class have this a little bit more cosmic star nature. So that's kind of how I perceive them, just as a very first pass category.
And I understand that they're one of the higher dimensional families. I guess that I also something also about them potentially helping human souls when they pass, helping them look and examine their life. Yeah, is there anything more to that you feel is good to state?
Yeah, I mean, many people have connected and continue to connect with the Arcturians. I mean, some of the more well-known maybe figures that people might know in the kind of spiritual context, like Edgar Cayce, who is kind of the American sleeping psychic, connected with the Arcturians and had his description in his work that they were sort of very high, like you said, high-level consciousness beings assisting the planet. And his description of them were very advanced in healing technologies. And then more recently, Norma Milanovic channeled the Arcturians, and she, I believe, I'm not sure if she was a stenographer. She was much like in the business world, and then started receiving messages from these interdimensional beings. And then if people sort of know Tom Kenyon,
Yes.
yeah, he wrote an entire anthology. I think he called it Arcturian Anthology. So he connects with the Arcturians. So there's an established, there are human people who have connected with the Arcturians who've been public about it. So my connection, I tried when I was developing, particularly the Arcturian healing method, and the different healing levels. I was aware of the different people who had connected, respected them, but tried not to read their work directly, because the piece that after the reconnection that helped me make a connection to the Arcturians. I did a fairly extensive training with Michael Harner's school called the Foundation for Shamanic Studies, to actually learn tools to connect to spiritual like beings. They call it, for Michael Harner's school is for healing context. So kind of helping spirits in the shamanic kind of framework. Knowing that I had this connection to the Arcturians, which I didn't mention that part of the story, but wanted to find a tool, a consciousness tool, to make a direct connection with them and then see what I would receive from them. So usually I use what in that tradition, shamanic journeying, to kind of make this conscious connection.
Episode 147, Andrew Charles Evanch, Truther with Heart. And Andrew, if I said your last name incorrectly, please forgive. Okay. So can we go back to you being in Florida, driving, and then just noticing the lockdowns? Welcome, you.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. And so yeah, most people are just going about their daily routine, and my daily routine was being a rideshare driver in South Florida, and one day I'm making $100 to $250 a day, and then the next day everything's turned off, and I made $4 waiting around for 4 hours, and that's the only ride that I got. And so obviously it was very dramatic. And with my military experience, I've been in a gas chamber more than once, and I've worn the big canister mask, and I knew that the military's response to something deadly blowing around in the wind was not accurate. Like, wait a minute. There's something deadly blowing around in the wind, and they're going to use something that would not save somebody's life. And it's like, that does not add up. That does not match up. So I did the math in my mind, and I'm like, it doesn't work. When you work it out, it doesn't add up. So
what do you feel the military should have done, or what would you have seen as a reaction?
Yeah, if there's something truly deadly blowing around out there, they would have gone to the MOP level 4. They would have put on the protective suit. So like you put on the overpants, the overcoat, the boots over top of your boots, the gloves over top of your gloves. You put your mask on. It's like, so all the protective stance is designed that if a chemical, biologic, or radioactive danger out there, it would buy you some time to potentially get to a safe distance or to neutralize the contaminants or the threat. So this is something that we practice multiple times. Putting on our gear, getting that mask on first as fast as we could, and then working on the rest of the gear. So, and then also how to decontaminate vehicles, how to decontaminate our equipment, how to change out our uniform if we had to change out our uniform. But it's something that we practice a lot. So wait a minute, everything that we've practiced is not being put into motion, and it's like, that is a obvious disconnect.
Interesting. I think you're the first person to lend that perspective. So thank you so much for sharing that. So that was how you saw the military handling things, and in the world, it was not handled that way at all.
It was 100%. It's just 100% obvious that everything that we're trained and what they were actually doing were two different things at that moment.
Okay. All right.
So that leads me into asking questions. And so one question leads to 1,000. And I was doing homework like 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours. I was noticing websites would disappear. If you didn't screenshot, save, or record whatever you were searching, it could be gone the next day. So websites were incredible. It was literally, it's like water. It was just literally liquid that you could see a website that would have a source information, and then it would be gone the next day. So that really raised a lot of questions to me. But the most profound next level step was in October of 2020, meeting Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower, and he gave a 5-minute speech. We're in a room full of millionaires in South Florida, right before a campaign event or what, a fancy dinner, and they're going to give him 5 minutes to speak. Well, I realized this is the most important person in the room.
Tell me about him, because there are so many names, a lot of people that I know and a lot of people that I don't. So who is Zach?
So Zach Voorhees, Vorhies. So Zach, he worked at Google for 8.5 years. and he found the blacklist file. So let's say if I were to take your name and put it in the blacklist file, we would not find you anywhere on the internet of anything that's associated Google, and then whether it's the search engine or YouTube or any other thing, it's like once our name is put in there, then we disappear off the digital platform. So, so let's think of anything else. What else could they make? What's, I'll stick to kind of the things that are already out there, that he's written about in the book Google Leaks. So Google Leaks. And the truth about the shooting in Las Vegas. It's like what was really going on? Was it just a random shooting, or was the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in town? There's more to the story. And then also there's videos that show a helicopter flying around. It's like, wait a minute. You got the Las Vegas airport, you got the Janet terminal. The Janet terminal has the planes that go over to Area 51. Basically, a helicopter would have been flying right over top of those radars and nobody noticed it. Yeah, right. Nellis Air Force Base is less than 5 or 10 miles away. So, their radar's not picking up it's like, so the absurdity of that it's just what was reported. Another aspect is how many people have heard of vitamin B17? In the last few years, people are starting to talk about it, but if we look on any package in any grocery store, it's been deleted from that list of vitamins.
Geez.
And supposedly that one's very beneficial.
Episode 148, Tom Althouse, original creator of the movie The Matrix. Is it okay to go into Pat Robertson?
Anything is fine.
Okay. And for those who don't know, Pat, which I'm assuming most of you guys do, so he died in 2023. So American media mogul, televangelist like the 700 Club, political commentator, presidential candidate, and charismatic minister. All right. How'd you become involved in that?
Well, my family is very rigid, was a very rigid religious right, very Calvinistic, legalistic. It was like, and basically it was like Roman law. The parent could do anything to the child, and the first son could do anything to the second son. And so that included setting traps. I mean, I kid you not, like a huge, thick 3x4 ply with a raccoon skin on it, nailed to it. I still see it. And he set it up on the shelves above my bed, so it came crashing down where my neck would be, and it just missed me. But he was allowed to do that. He was allowed to beat me and try to kill me. And there was nothing done about that. He even told me about how you can hit the third vertebrae down and kill somebody. So he took a chair and swung it at my third vertebrae down when I was 8 years old. So, but then they said that I had to marry a certain party, which was the girlfriend of my older brother's wife. And it was horrible. That was not my type of person, look, personality, anything. Monster. And I had to marry her or I'd lose everything. I'd be kicked out of the house. And it was like, I didn't want to marry her. So I cried at that wedding. And then,
Wow.
Yeah. And then she's hitting on my dad and hitting my brother and saying,
All right. So how old were you with this?
That was when I was like 22.
Okay. Had you gone to college?
I had gone to college and I was about to head to university. And that's when I was told, religious right, where I'd be going, Pat Robertson's organization. Pat Robertson's president of the school called me and said, you're coming here. So what they do is they suss out top students, and our education system, especially the Christian market, they'll suss out their top up and comers, and you're a commodity for upper echelon institutions.
Okay.
And so you're traded. And so I didn't realize that as sex ring. So I was being brought in only for my skills, but for my looks.
Okay. Some people are just going to listen to this and be like, what?
It's true.
Okay. Y'all, there's so much going on. Like, of course, I am not surprised by this at all.
When you operate from a place of entitlement, and when you twist the scriptures to say that God wants you to be the head, not the tail, and that anyone outside of your organization doesn't know God, that you're the one that brings God forward, that women are less and a servant to you as a man, and they use the scripture of that you are to be submissive. And the sky's the limit to what happens when you have that kind of entitlement in a male circle. And boy, did I see that, especially.
Tell for a second, I thought this was so tremendous. And I know there are other things, but the red pill and the blue pill, I know you've discussed this a lot, but it is mind-blowing. Okay, tell everybody what those are supposed to mean.
Okay, so the backstory into the story treatment and into the film, and the original film, which was completed in 1993, mine, and submitted, was that the red pill, I didn't like shots even as a kid, so I did a pill. It sounds kind of silly, I know, so I didn't have a shot. You gotta think of that. First of all, why isn't it a shot, injection? Because the author didn't like shots, so I made pills. They kept it. So the blue pill, the red pill, I'm sorry, is based on experiments, longevity experiments on the growth hormones in children's blood. And so that's why the red pill's bad. And so basically adrenochrome. So you got that's what it was intended. The red pill was a longevity program where it would allow for a creation of one world order where all top officials and their families, different governing officials, would come together and accept a one world order if they could be part of this longevity program. There's your program. See how Wachowski simplified it? And so what happens is, in the process, like I said, the CIA becomes central, and they're the governing body of the entire world, which you're trying to do right now anyway, usurping the sovereignty over Ukraine and everything else. That's the FBI and CIA doing the Pentagon. Anyway.
Let's go back to this for just a second. So right now in let's call it the awakened community, truther community, whatever you want to say. So the red pill is, you're going to learn the truth. You're going to wake up and you're going to see everything. When in actuality, where you were coming from was the red pill is the blood of the children,
That's
New
right.
World order, everything. So how we are saying it is incorrect in terms of how you meant it to be.
It's intentional. The way they intended it was to reverse it, so everybody else now is guilty with them of ingesting the blood, or saying ingesting the blood of children is good. When you say you're red-pilled, you're saying ingesting the blood of children is good. You're now siding with the dark side.
Episode 150, Valentina Onosor, MD, PhD, Quantum Rebel.
But again, when you go deeper, and of course, we have to learn about meditation because we have to learn how to tame all this brain and the monkey mind. And if there's anybody suffering from depression or anxiety, they have to learn about meditation a little bit, even just learning to be attentive to the breath, or learning to relax the abdomen. So again, the reality of the chakras, it's already proven. So especially for women, the abdominal area, there's so much contraction there. We don't have enough self-respect. We don't have.
That was a lot for me. That really had to be worked on initially.
Yeah, but it's kind of like we don't realize as women, how much we just hold on, and then if you're contracted there, then a lot of, you have fibromas, cysts, so many other problems, because the energy just cannot circulate. We should be like an open system, and when we become aware of what's happening in our bodies, then we are becoming also more selective with everything initially, but eventually you are not you're just there, kind of surrendered and attentive, and see what's happening with the proper intent.
I want to ask you and get your opinion on this. I believe that menstruation, a lot of the pain around it also comes from the collective consciousness of so many years of, women are unclean, women this. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, of course. So the Christian tradition, what is saying? That everything is holy, just not the sexual energy, right? Stay away from that. Stay away from the woman, because especially when she's menstruating, because she's dangerous. Yes, of course, the woman, especially a strong woman, so she will always test the man, if he's strong enough, is he there to ground, so that she's getting the support that is natural to receive from a man, So the man, again, they have certain qualities, and the woman is kind of testing that man, and if she's not getting what she wants, she can become fully chaotic, of course. So they were right in a way, because not understanding the sexual energy, even nowadays, there's so much frustration, so much shame in the collective unconscious, and you see nowadays, you can put immediately anybody down saying something about this person on the sexual aspect, right? So this is the easiest way to put somebody down, right? And that's why, you don't know, people are not talking. There is no sexual education nowadays. And the woman, again, she shouldn't be, it's especially in some countries, people don't talk a lot at all about these aspects. And then, for example, in India, in India, they were maybe the sweetest people of the world, so peaceful. And I feel like they were naturally expanded. So nowadays you hear about rapes in group, like young people, like 12, 13 years people, kids. They just rape a girl in a bus, and these kind of things were repeatedly happening. Why? Because it's so much repressed in the collective unconscious, this sexuality. Yeah, it's a taboo. So when something is taboo, it can be, something which can indeed hurt you, but in that way. Now also there are the opposite countries where everybody's having sex with everybody and they think, oh, wow, what a freedom is that, but when that happens and there's no love, we are closing our hearts, and then we cannot love anymore, right? So that's another aspect. But again, women, so when we have to understand the menstruation and also what's happening in menopause. That's another aspect, oh my God, the menopause can change everything, So a woman, if we didn't take care of us, especially on the energetic levels, and then at menopause, it can be very difficult, in the premenopause phase, perimenopause phase, you can be a completely different person, you're just... So we need to understand ourselves. It's a whole universe in everybody, but I think we're much more complex in a woman. So I'm very happy in this life I'm a woman to experience so many things as a woman.
And we're almost finished. To Just Be Practice, episode 137, Reverend Angie LaRue, Master Christologist. Ooh, and this will be about Palladium codeums.
Just Be Practice.
All right. Let's go into the practice now. What are you going to do for us today? And
Okay,
thank you.
so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to deliver some Pleiadian codeums. So part of the whole awakening path is, yeah, we're not alone in the universe, and there's a lot of other beings that are a lot more advanced than us. And for some of those beings, they're kind of like missionaries, right? And they'll help you to understand the universe from their level of understanding. And some of them are reaching almost this like creator being level. And the particular group of Pleiadians that came into my experience understand frequency really, really well. And so they have these like mathematical formulas, which are fractal transmit. I don't know how to say it, but we'll just call it transmission or a download, even though it's activated through numbers. And they're very specific. They only do the one thing that they do. And so I'll be saying those formulas, and then I'll put that energy out to you guys, and then we'll activate it together. Okay. And there's 4 words to activate it. Activate, which means just turn it on in my system. So if you don't want it, don't say activate. Enhance, which means tune it to your unique spiritual frequency, because we're unique fractals of God. So it's not tens by Omar, one size doesn't fit all. It changes it to you. Amplify, which is homeopathic, and it just kind of spreads. And then activate, enhance, amplify, expand. Expand takes it into your multi-dimensional body. So, the 4th dimensional, 5th dimensional, 6th dimensional, because if we make a change down here in the 3D, we want that change to be consistent with the rest of our bodies, clear back to source. And so that's what that does. It just tunes it to source. Okay. All right. And Eden, your listeners, what do you think they would be most interested in? What's going to do them the most good? And I can come up with, I have a lot. So
in terms of what? Give me more specifics if you would mind.
What's going to be helpful for them today?
Oh.
If I can send out 1,000 energies, what?
Oh, geez.
Energy?
As we're talking about love and moving away from fear, if we could get specific with that.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
I have 36 pages
Oh, geez.
of codeums.
Okay.
So, all right. So what I'm going to have you do, because this can take me a little bit, kind of like, you know, a barista mixing an exotic cocktail. I have to kind of mix these cocktails together. As I do that, would it be okay if maybe you could lead everybody in kind of a little centering meditation?
Indeed. All right. How 2 to 3 minutes kind of a thing, or what would you recommend?
Yeah, I think 2 to 3 minutes will be perfect, and I'll also mute myself in the meantime.
Okay, lovely. Oh, I love being a part of this. It's so exciting. All right, everybody. I'm going to close my eyes, and if you can, I would suggest that you do as well. And I would also suggest open palm on your legs if you're sitting. Well, hopefully you're sitting. Okay, we're going to take just some connective breaths, and to do this on your own time. And we're not going to worry about posture or any of that, just whatever is comfortable for you. And as these breaths are occurring, really connecting to the ground, to the earth. So for me, my feet, if your rear end is on the ground, really getting connected there and solid. Okay, and as you're here, just the basics, letting go of, you know, what you have going on next, whatever's on your calendar, that it is so important and high vibrational to be here with Angie as she collects all this information that is going to be delivered to us and enhance us. So to get prepared for that, I'm going to get a little excited by that or passionate by it. Breathe a little. We're just going to stay as good as we can in this space until Angie joins us again. And just being in this trust arena, this faith arena. That we are going to receive incredible energies and frequencies. And also gratitude for that. Now, patience and preparation. And I'll be quiet now.
All right, here come these energies now. And we have energies for perceiving and aligning to love and knowing that love comes to you from any and everywhere. There's one for yourselves recognizing, yourselves recognizing the love frequency. There's one for entering your heart space. There's one for communication of internal prosperity, heart space translations and sensing internal prosperity. There's one called the happy codem, and there's one for just eliminating your story, just letting it go and establishing inner sovereign peace. And here come these energies now. Take a nice inhalation and say with me, activate. Okay. Inhale. Enhance.
Enhance.
Inhale. Amplify.
Amplify.
And then say with me, I perceive and align.
I perceive and align.
To love and know that love comes to me.
To love and to know that love comes to me.
From any and everywhere.
From any and everywhere.
Amplify.
Amplify.
Expand.
Expand.
And now just sit and notice what happens in your body, in your heart chakra, your auric field. Just noticing we're all going to feel it a little differently because it's unique to each of us. But allowing yourself to integrate and melt into and be soothed by this codum cocktail of loving energies. All right. And how are you feeling, Eden? How was that for you?
Marvelous. And it's probably because you're helping guide this. When we got through talking, I just felt like all these crystals around, like when you were showing the hand grenade, like they were small and just everywhere. So I feel like this integration is going to continue for a couple of days. What would you say to that?
The codum energies will actually last for 9 days.
Okay.
You'll probably perceive them for maybe 3 days if you're real sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Each night when you sleep, you'll be integrating the energies, and so you'll notice it less and less. But you just kind of notice you'll have it's going to be a good week. It's going to be a really nice week. More
Good.
Yeah. And then the crystals are actually sentient beings, which we didn't really talk about that. But if you have crystal affinity, for those out there, if you have crystal and affinity, the crystals here, of which there's many everywhere, may well continue to work with you and or your crystals for as long as they feel welcome to do so, and there's anything to be done. So they have their own consciousness and their own evolution, and through interacting with us, it helps us and it helps them in their evolution as well.
Oh, that's just beautiful. Man, thank you so much for doing that for us today. True blessing. Thank you so much, Reverend Ian. And I just wanted to end with this. Okay, so this episode 167 should have been published. Well, will have been published the week before this. And the end of it was so great. I just had to put it on there. Denise Bliss Phillips was a guest, as well as Stephen Tenor towards the end. Yay, us!
Yay! We're the change. We're making it happen. We're who we've been waiting for. We're the plan. I trust the plan because I'm the plan. What's up? Are you ready?
Yes. All right. Yes. Signing off. See you next week. Y'all are great. Loved it. Y'all find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.